Hi there. So we're on the floor today. I figured this would be a little bit more fun and we get to maybe experience one of the cats coming by to say hello. But I just wanted to jump in to this video and start off by saying how cool it is that the trend for creating a personal curriculum is sort of gaining popularity. All right, so one of the first things that I wanted to talk about in this video, and it's essentially, in my opinion, I think why this idea of creating a personal curriculum is becoming so popular. It's this contrast between consumption and creation. And I know for myself, the allure of just consuming content, whether that's YouTube or playing video games or reading a book, there's not a lot of engagement that goes into that as far as my own creative output, right? And so the idea of you sort of end up losing a little bit of curiosity, that development, that imagination that is part of these sorts of creative pursuits that as a consumer you are enjoying. And I think it's really nice to sort of flip this around and consider, okay, how can we foster our own sense of creativity and imagination and learning? And I think this is one of the things that really stood out to me for this trend, is that people are getting back into the idea of learning, treating it as kind of this lifelong pursuit. So let's jump into more of the creating a personal curriculum. At their core, curricula are just a outline for a way of learning. You have a what, a topic, something that you want to learn more about, and you have a way of getting there. These are, for example, assignments, a reading list, some research that you might want to conduct, exams, papers, all of these things, these elements that we've sort of absorbed over time as part of the schooling system, are things that we can actually incorporate with a sense of our own agency into learning that we'd like to conduct for ourselves. So for this video, what I'll be doing is walking you through a bit of a template that I've developed in Notion. And this is just a starting place. Either for you, you can kind of get some ideas from this. You can completely ignore it and go your own way. You can do this on paper, any other, digital or analog system that you have in mind. Really, the idea here is to find something that works for you and something that you can iterate on, something that you can change over the course of time. And as you figure out, what you like, what works well for you, what doesn't work well for you. So let's examine some components of curricula that I think are really going to be helpful for us in the context of developing our own curriculum. All right, so here we are on the landing page, the dashboard of the personal curriculum template that I've set up for you. The first section that we'll have here is the course overview. And this is just the place where you'll insert the general topic idea as well as a specific area of focus, perhaps. So in my case, just the example that we've used here is learn conversational Dutch, paying special attention to communicating at home. To the right of that, we have the goals section over here. And this is something that you want to be ideally specific, in this case, a language level. It could also be a word count, a daily word count that you're hoping to reach, or some books that you're hoping to read, maybe some papers, and just a space where you can kind of keep track of that. Moving on to the next section, we have core components over here, and these are set up just as blank pages. So if we open up reading list here, you can insert your own database. You keep track of everything that you've read here. This is just sort of a starting point for keeping track of everything that is that you want to incorporate within your course. So the next section that we have is the course database over here. We've broken this down into weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can set this up however you like, but I just thought a weekly schedule would be sort of the best option in this case. The other components are the date, so this can be a date range. You can have the status here, so not started, in progress, or done. The topic, this will be unique to what it is that you're focusing on. The neat thing that we have here as well is this little drop-down menu. Within week 1, we have assignment, notes, and research. So if I open up, let's say, research here, let's open this up as a full page. I've set up a template for you, so you can just click on the week number and it'll pop up here with a to-do list, some goals, notes, and resources. And you can set this up, as you go through it every week, for your research, for your notes, and it'll just sort of help you keep things much more organized. So that's the course database there. The next section, this is just a simple calendar view for deadlines and assignments. So if you have a paper that you want to write in a couple weeks' time, what you'll do is you'll add, the date. You can even set up a reminder. So one of the reasons that I like to use Notion for this sort of thing is that I can tell it to ping me an alert either on my phone or on my computer or email to let me know, oh, hey, you've got this, this exam coming up next week. You should probably study for it, that sort of thing. So it's a really nice way of kind of managing the chaos that can otherwise come from setting up your own personal curriculum. So I'll scroll back to the top here, and there we have it. This is an overview, just a really quick rundown of the personal curriculum template that I've set up for you. Let's hop back into the main portion of the video now. This idea of returning to school, the timing, fortunately, it's around that time of year when this video should be published. It's a great time to sit down, do some research, a little bit of reading, write some notes, and hopefully this video today will help you kind of feel that same passion and enjoyment in learning that I think we maybe, at least I, to a certain extent, might have lost touch with along the way. Part of that journey is going to come back to reading a little bit more and trying to, there's so many uh, unfortunate statistics out there for people that don't finish a book, after their formal education sort of ends and they're not sort of like assigned reading anymore, and it's really unfortunate. I mean, it's something that yeah, hopefully videos like this and these sorts of trends can maybe change because I mean, reading is such a huge part of my life, and I'm hoping that I can share some of that enjoyment and passion with you. The second thing that I want to talk to you about today is, why does this idea of creating a personal curriculum work? And I think what we can take away from this is that structure and systems, regardless of how we might feel about, school and formal education in general, whether we're sort of opposed to that imposition of structure, the idea that the systems that schools and education systems place upon us can actually be really helpful. It's sort of this idea that in some ways structure sort of supports creativity and our ability to learn a little bit better. If I, for example, were to say, okay, you have to, ladies. So the goal with this video is that it's hopefully going to help you out, whether you're in school currently, have finished school, or sort of in between. Part of the lovely thing about a personal curriculum is that it gives you a bit of direction. And this is something that over time I had to learn and hone and iterate upon throughout my PhD journey, because a lot of the program is essentially self-directed, and of course there's check-ins with supervisors, and these are incredibly useful, but a lot of those are self-imposed, and this is something that I think I can maybe offer some insight into when it comes to developing your own personal curriculum. We can maybe borrow some of these tools that universities use in the development of these curricula into our own lives, and how we can kind of integrate those in a successful and productive way. The caveat here as well, though, is that what I'm really hoping, the takeaway from this video is that you kind of reignite and re-engage with some of the joy that comes from learning, and the creativity, the curiosity, especially behind that, is just so much fun. So if this video can inspire you to go out and learn a little bit more, or consider, being just a bit more curious in the world, whether that's, with what you're consuming or what you're putting out, then yeah, that would be wonderful. That's kind of the goal here. A personal curriculum ties in perfectly with what I'm hoping is going to be an ongoing educational series on this channel, where I talk about things like literary theory, book reviews, book suggestions, debates, discussions around existing discourse in the sort of like booktube or book talk sphere, how we can have maybe more productive, more interesting, more engaging conversations around these sorts of content that we're consuming, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit of literary theory to kind of, support our discussion. But ultimately, here, the goal is to help you rediscover a love of reading and a love of learning. And part of the impetus behind this is that I want the idea of a personal curriculum to be as accessible as possible. So in this case, we're not borrowing knowledge behind, a degree or something that the academy has said, this is what you need to do in order to achieve, XYZ. And as someone who's kind of gone through that whole process and been dictated to, it's nice to kind of take a little bit of ownership for your own learning, engage your interests, your curiosities, and kind of channel that into something that you're passionate about and maybe that you care about as well. Coming to the conclusion of this video, one thing that I really wanted to highlight for you is that if you have any questions, if there's anything in this video that you're unsure of how to implement or how it might relate to a particular topic that you have in mind for learning a little bit more about, I would love to hear about that in the comments. Part of the reason that I set out to make this YouTube video in particular is that I just love being able to teach this sort of stuff. And so if I'm able to help you in any way, drop a comment with particular questions that you have. I'd love to spend some time helping you set up your own personal curriculum and answering any questions like that. Stay tuned for my upcoming and ongoing, hopefully, educational series on this channel. I'd love to dive into a little bit more the sort of reading, literary theory, book review, book suggestions. There's so much stuff rattling around in my head, and this is, after all, Bookbound with Cass, and so I want to really sort of honor that aspect of things and engage with a little bit of the book talk, the booktube community as well. So stay tuned. There's plenty more coming up, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.